And now for the Q&A.
Today's question comes from Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Matt says, do you have any tips on how to make healthy decisions in an unhealthy environment? I stopped using nicotine about 10 years ago, and I stopped drinking alcohol 1 to 2 years ago after listening to you and Huberman. I came to the conclusion that I was kind of a functioning alcoholic, and as you always say, you can't just stop eating, and I have a big family and many responsibilities and a wife with a handicap. She's not going to stop buying sorry, let me she's not going to stop buying and making sugary stuff. And I just have to not eat that, but it's hard. I still find myself doing all the stupid stuff like eating when nobody sees or thinking one misstep means I might as well fuck up the whole day or weekend. When I've managed to work a whole day and taken care of all the kids, 5 of them between ages 1 to 7, I'm just not in an optimal place to withstand the temptation, and I want to comfort myself with something nice, usually something sweet. My go to solution would have been to make sure there wasn't anything that wasn't okay to eat, but that is not okay for my wife and thus out of the question. How would you tackle that without leaving the wife? I love your work both as an actor and now as a podcaster, Ethan. You are an inspiration. I have never heard the concept of maintenance diet before I started listening to you, so thank you.
Thanks, Matt. That's a great question. So, yeah, you don't have to leave your wife. I would appeal to her for some kind of compromise. Could it be that, um, the sugary stuff is bought and consumed in an instance, or whatever? Could we have less sugary stuff? Could you find is there any sugary stuff that they like and enjoy eating that you don't? That would be my step one, to appeal to her for like, look, I am trying to accomplish here are my goals I'm setting, here is how I'm going about doing it. The sugary stuff is screwing me up. Number two is, for me, um you can't be abstinent from food, you have to eat. And so I did have to find some things that were almost as rigid as abstinence. Um, I loved using drugs and alcohol in secret, and I loved eating in secret. And now, one of the things that I absolutely do not do is eat in secret. I don't. I find that, like, if I'm on a path of honesty, and that's even being honest with myself, um, that sneaking stuff is a dishonest act for me, and so that will derail me if I start doing things in secret. And so that's easier said than done too. I don't think you just go like, I'm not going to do that anymore. You have to like do like really look at your life and instances. I don't want to say you. What I did, how I had to deal with this was recognizing that I did that was my behavior, and then trying to pinpoint exact instances when I did that, and trying to go through it and go like, oh, this happens quite a bit more. Even after I recognized it, oh, this is like a part of my daily life. This behavior, this secretive behavior. Um, and this is not something that I can do anymore and achieve my goals, because for me, that kind of secretive eating, even if my wife did get rid of booze and sugary foods and foods that were off my plan for a long time, if I was still if it was just that, I only behaved that way with certain things rather than that behavior had to be eradicated, I would just find other things to behave that way with. If you switched from sugary peanut butter to non-sugary peanut butter, I could still go sneak a tablespoon of peanut butter and eat that in the pantry while nobody was looking. Um, and so I think that behavior, and it takes a lot of like personal responsibility and fortitude to like recognize that and to really actively do away with it. And I think it requires a little bit of accountability to others. And so your kids are, I think, too young, 1 to 7, he said.
Mhm.
But you could talk to your wife and say, like, "Here's what I've been doing. I've been sneaking the food you get, and, um, I don't wanna do that anymore, and so I wanna be, very upfront with you, and I wanna be very open, and that behavior is not okay, and so, like, I need to work on that." Um, and then the other thing is, like, don't let yourself get hungry. Have food that is on your plan, and again, I didn't get to be 536 pounds by, or 550, because I gained weight after that weigh-in, but, I didn't get to that weight eating out of hunger. My body did not drive me to that, but I do find it easier to make better decisions when I'm well fed. I do know that, like, if I go to the supermarket on an empty stomach, shit falls into my cart that I wouldn't have put into my cart had I been well fed. I go with a plan and I stick to my plan. Um, and sleep is important. It's hard with young kids to get a good night's sleep. It's been a long time since my kids were that young, but I do remember, like, months and months, and if not years of, like, not getting adequate sleep. Sleep is super important. Um, that would be, like, honestly the first factor I would address. Anytime I hear somebody has young kids and they're struggling with anything, I go like, "Okay, can you get more sleep?" I doubt that a parent of 4 or
5, yeah.
5 kids from 1 to 7, it's gonna be
Mhm.
very difficult to get adequate sleep, but can you get more sleep? Is there a
Yeah.
way to increase your sleep? Um, and I'm not saying neglect your kids at night, because a 1-year-old can be disruptive at night. You don't have to neglect the 1-year-old kid, but do you need to have a cooler bedroom? Do you need to, like, take a hot shower before your bed? Do you need to take magnesium? Huberman talks about magnesium threonate being super beneficial to sleep. In fact, there's a couple other supplements he mentions. Try that. Um, do you have sleep apnea? Like, I would investigate every angle to try to get my sleep better as a step 1, and then as a step 2, I would do everything else I suggested, appealing to my wife for some compromise, um, really laying out what your goals are, uh, and getting her to be an advocate for you. And I don't think, with any of her reaction, that there's a universe where you have to leave her. Please don't leave your wife, especially when you have 5 kids from 1 to 7. That I will say can be a tough thing to get through. It's a lot of strain on the relationship. There's not a lot of sleep happening. You're basically only living for those little kids. So it's important to figure out time for yourself. And maybe that time for yourself, uh, if you can carve out 15, 20 minutes a day or an hour a day or any amount of time for yourself a day, you spend it, battle planning your day, how you're going to have a successful day. Do some food journaling. Like, it's real work, but there are things to do to have success.
Thank you, Matt, for your question. Thank you, Ethan, for that answer. And we wish you, success in this as you tackle these things, and you can do that. So, thank you, everybody who sends us questions. You know how much we love these? So much. You can email us hello@americanglutton.net.